seagulls follow the trawl, it's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you.
And as we say now in my country, they brought the buzz and they left the buzz in front of the goal.
And the guy's talking absolute nonsense. Never heard so much rubbish in my life.
Normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
I'm telling you, don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
The Sunday Sesh, the 6:30 Blether, whatever you want to call it. It's Sunday, it's fun day, it's time to talk Celtic. What a trio. I was speaking last night about the combinations you can get up front for Celtic right now, how difficult it is for Ange to actually pick that front three. It's a completely different trio tonight, and yeah, it feels fucking good still as well. Steve-O, Matt, mate. Firstly, I applaud your display in Bustalgia. So you were excellent, mate. Very good. Easy on the eye to some of our female viewers, I'm sure. But on the audio, absolutely superb, mate. I was listening to you with headphones on, mate. And I've got the same AC Milan top. So I congratulate you in your style as well. By the way, this is as much praise I've ever given anyone for McKinley in my life. So welcome aboard, Steve-O, Matt, for the Sunday Sesh. Good to have you on, pal. How are you?
Always a pleasure. Anytime.
Love it.
Here to provide a service, mate.
Yeah, oh no, you do good, mate. You do good. Just like piesports.com, you could say, for McKinley.
Yeah,
they provided a service for your Steve-O, didn't they?
They did, yes. They provided a service for a few of us on the bus so far in the few weeks of this nice wee relationship we've got going on. So, yeah, they definitely have provided a very nice service. Highly recommend, 10 out of 10.
What about Warren's Team Talk? We need to give them a mention.
We do,
brilliant YouTube channel. And he's just constantly talking about the Boise bus, like in a good way. For a change. Makes a change. I don't think we'll do a bus stop episode about it many times.
No, there'll be no shoot promo about that.
No, McGinley's wooden spoon will not be out anytime soon. Because Warren's Team Talk, check out on YouTube. Just a lovely fella. Londoner, just sitting there. I think he's an Arsenal fan. And he just talking about he just loves football. And he stumbled across the bus, and I think he's kind of not cheesy. I think he's fell in love with it a wee bit. But he ended up getting a pie sports order as well.
Fantastic.
He did an unboxing and everything. Oh, what a legend, man. Everyone in the chat, hello! It's Sunday. We'd like to have a bit of fun on a Sunday. But we're also going to have some serious debate, guys.
We shall.
We will. Because on the bus, sometimes when there's no seats, what do you do? So we will be talking about the pros and cons of that, and I really do want a balanced opinion on all this stuff, and we'll do that. Remember as well, by the way, see if you've not bought a shirt yet, get one while they're still there. You know, look at them. Are you off your head? They're absolutely minted. Yeah, they're coming soon. Drop me an email, crookedarm@ymail.com. By all means, look at the shield. Look at that.
Oh,
the shield wrestling faction as well for you too.
Yes, it is.
And not dry fit double down, as you know. We like having a laugh in the bus. We like it. Right. Anyway, all that good stuff is subscribe if you've not already. 3,360 odd, is it, Phil?
It is, yeah. Right. Not too bad.
Surprises me, anyway. If you want to give us a like right now for all the algorithm, the traction to it. If you want to share it on your social media, go for it. If you want to become a member, though, and this is everyone's favourite bit, if you want to become a Boise Bus member, just like Gary Brown, Joseph McGonigal, Paul Dyatt, Stevie Kenny, Tattoo 77, Tattoo Face 77. It's optional. It's $1.99 a month, but it's up to you because all our content is free. Right, okay, let's get stuck into it. There was big news this week other than the football, which I know, guys, are just focusing on the football, lads. Mate, just fine. Not focusing on Celtic, Rangers, whoever I'm in charge of, and the worst player in Chelsea's history. Yeah, hardly forming an argument, Mickey. Don't make a molehill out of a mountain. But let's take our eyes off the field for a minute because there is a brigade at Celtic, the Green Brigade, and whilst I do not doubt the colourful, wonderful attraction that they would be if you were a foreign football fan going, look at those guys in the corner, they're brilliant. Eh? I feel at times it's a bit nauseating being told what political party to follow, to be told I'm in the CUNT if you're Rod Stewart, or you're told you're a CUNT if you're Douglas Ross. I mean, hello, we all know this. No one's asking you to put 2 + 2 = 4, right? At times, I think the mark is overstepped. At times, it feels like there's a bunch of 19-year-olds telling me how I'm meant to think in life. I ain't going to wash with me, right? I'm 35 years old, right? Like, I've seen loads of different phases of life. Nobody's telling me to vote Nicola Sturgeon or whoever it may be because, or, hate Israel because you're waving a Palestine player while celebrating a near beat on goal. It just doesn't work. Not my bag. But they made a big, quite, I thought, I don't know, geez, real film. Theatrical music in the background and that, telling us they want a stand now. They want your seat, Phil. Now,
yeah.
Hey, I'm coming straight to you, Phil, because you're directly affected. Steve-O's got unreal input, by the way, guys, that you're really going to, well, hopefully pay attention to because it is actually quite insightful even for us who think we're in the know. We're not ITK. But they want to stand now. Instantly, if you watch the video, it crosses over to the wall in Dortmund. Yeah. Right? Instantly you go, oh, actually, do you know what? That does sound good. Logistically, this, for me, I'll get my opinion out there first. This is an maniac thing where I see one winner. That winner will be Celtic. I think this is how far can we push them right now and how much we get for what we want. I'm not buying it. Phil, you sit in the stand that they want.
Yeah.
So what are they calling it? The Celtic end.
They call it Celtic end, the traditional Celtic end at Celtic Park. They usually go into that end of the second half, unless you get some wide captain of some other team wins a coin toss and decides, no, we'll swap it around. But 9 times out of 10, they go into the traditional Celtic end, the Jock Stein Stand these days. But I've sat in that stand since 2007 when I got the season ticket. I believe out of all the members of the Boise Bus team, I'm the one that is directly affected. Mark sits in the upper Jock Stein, but at the moment, the plan, which came out of nowhere...
his vantage point, Phil?
Vantage point.
See, when he first came on, Steve, all right? Mark's like secretary, goes, I've actually got a bit of a vantage point for the I see the game, which was hilarious because he knew he was being funny when he said it, but it was like, when I sit, I've actually got a vantage point. Which became a thing on the bus for a while. Sorry, Phil, to cut you.
No, that's no worries. But he sits in the upper Jock Stein. By the plan at the moment appears to be the lower Jock Stein. They've got their eyes on right now, which say affects me because I'm in 139. So I'm right in the middle of the sort of the lower Jock Stein stand, and it came out of nowhere on Friday. It was a bit of a shock to me when I read a lot of the reaction on Twitter and so on. The impression that I got is the people, majority of the folk who are in favour of this going on Twitter reaction. I know I shouldn't get too involved or take social media as the real, the barometer here. But going by that, it seemed to be a lot of people in a certain age group, shall we say, who see fans like myself who are 37 years old now. We're just an inconvenience. We're just in the way.
You don't know fuck all about football, Phil. You weren't there when Chris Commons scored his first 30 goals in a season. That's when football began.
Yeah, so it was a bit of a shock when I've seen this, and obviously I'm going to be going over the logistics and stuff tonight, but initially my first reaction was I don't want to lose my seat. I don't want to relocate. I like my view. I pay for that seat every single year. So it's like, it took me by surprise, that one, but I'm eager. I'm glad to be on tonight.
Well, your take's very interesting, Phil. It's very interesting. It's a completely different standpoint or vantage point, you could say, as everyone else's, because you would be directly affected by this.
Yep.
But we'll come to you, Steve-O, and it's brilliant to have you at the Sunday Blether, the Sunday Sesh, sorry, I should say. It's great to have you on, pal. Brilliant.
Thank you.
You've got a few views on this, and I want to go straight into it because we dive in deep on the Boise Bus. You know this. Why were you drawn to the show? Because you went, fucking hell, they tell the truth. They tell the truth. They're happy to have strong opinion. Tell me why this won't work. And also, if we can do balance, I want us to go around later on in the show why it will work. Why it would work. And if that makes sense, hypothetically. But Steve, I want your take now. Go for it.
Right. Firstly, thank you. It's a hot topic, and as you say, we'll never shy away from anything here. Disclaimer, I just want to say this from the off. They're just opinions. All right? They're just opinions. Right. Don't get offended. We don't hate you. We don't love you. We're just trying to be balanced, right? Mm-hmm. It's a very divisive subject. It's going to split the fan base right down the middle. From those affected to it, to those that go, to those that watch on TV.
We're in the clinic. It's a safe space.
Yep, and everything else in between. All right. So, what I want to do first is, can I read what was handed out? Because some people might not have got it. The actual leaflet. Read it. So this is verbatim. All right. So it's double-sided, and it says, in firstly, the Celtic End. As you may have seen yesterday, a fan campaign has been launched to take the Celtic Park atmosphere to the next level. The campaign has been endorsed by the Green Brigade, North Curve, Celtic Shared, and Boys So Far. As the campaign will directly affect season ticket holders currently in the Jock Stein War stand, we are reaching out to you first and before we do similar with all other areas of the ground. Now, just to touch on that, personally speaking, I think there's only people in the area, but by the by. We want you to understand why we believe that this campaign is necessary, and we think that the benefits for Celtic Football Club as a whole. At this stage, all you will want from you is an open mind. So it says, then what is the Celtic End? The Celtic End is a campaign to turn the traditional Celtic End of Celtic Park into an iconic stand famous for its vocal and visual support of Celtic. The best possible example we can give you is the Borussia Dortmund's famous yellow wall. Why is this needed? Most iconic stadiums and clubs have famous traditional ends which vociferously and colourfully support their teams. Sadly, Celtic Park lacks such a stand. The current standing section sold 2,700 with a similar number on the waiting list. Boys Celtic currently occupy opposite corner and are growing in number. In European nights, most of the Lisbon Lions end will stand. At Hampden, the entire goal end and usually more will stand. Given the option, we believe tens of thousands would choose to stand at matches and believe this would transform the atmosphere at Celtic Park for the better. So that's the first half of it. And then on the reverse is a sort of, what do we want from it? So what is our aim? The only solution which caters for all and importantly produces the best stadium atmosphere in one large united standing section. We believe the natural place for this is the traditional Celtic End, although our vision is a full stand, brackets warm upper, The low stand is the natural starting point, which is fair. Who is the Celtic end for? The Celtic end is for everyone. While the ultras may lead the singing from behind the goals, the stand is big enough to cater for all types of supporters who wish to stand. And if you don't wish to stand, you will enjoy the noise and colour generated from the Celtic end from the comfort of a seat in another stand. What can you do? You as fans already here, your support is crucial. Whether you want to stand or not, we want you to support the idea of a large standing section at the Celtic end. For some, this may involve being relocated, and we want you to consider how, point 1, a large vocal, colourful stand will benefit the team on the park. Point 2, it will improve the matchday experience for all the fans in the stadium. Point 3, it will propel reputation of Celtic Park and Celtic Football Club. Point 4, it will ultimately generate more revenue for the club, which I've got a couple of opinions on, because I don't think it will, unfortunately. The club will soon launch a fan census, which will cover demand for standing. It is imperative that the demand for the stand and flexibility to relocate is proven through this census. Thank you. So that's what you got given to you if you were at the game, and thank you to Phil for providing me with that, because I was
this is the leaflet that they left on my seat. There you go. That's it.
It's first and foremost, first impressions are very important in life. I find it patronising, Phil.
Yeah, I was.
And I've got nothing against, by the way, the Green Brigade or anything like that. I've not got a right to, because I watch every game from my house. I'm an armchair supporter, bona fide, right? See, Celtic for me, Celtic is my dad, right? My dad died when he was 45 and all that shit, right? And it's easy to go into that. But I think as Celtic, I just think it embodies everything my dad wanted me to love as a football team. Was Celtic, and I am an armchair fan. I am not got the gift you have from your vantage point. Sorry, I'm going to keep using
Is that the
that
new
now.
panel now? We've got a lap of the London panel. Vantage point is the new one.
But mate, you've just heard Steve read that out.
Yep.
What do you feel like that when you've picked up that flyer? Because you've read it obviously before. Steve was read it out there.
Yeah.
What does that make you feel as a fan? Are you on board a wee bit, or tell me?
Well, first of all, as I've said, but I've actually mentioned this before on the show. Like, see, if you asked me just out of the blue last week, would I be happy to stand at the game? Me, just me, as a fan, would I be happy to stand? I'd be fine. But here's the thing: I've said it before. When I go to the game, I go with my dad, who's 71 years old and has a blood clot in his leg. He can't stand for 90 minutes. Now, where my seat is in 139, it's very easily accessible. We're right at the end of a row. We're right at the top of the stairs. You take one step to the left and you're on the stairs and you're out. So for my dad, that is a great position for him to be in right now. It's already shitty enough for him that he's got to leave 10 minutes early every game because he's got a walking stick. And it would be really bad for him to leave at the same time as everybody else because, you know, there's a massive crowd around him. So things like that I've got to consider. Well, me standing for 90 minutes, I wouldn't mind it personally, but I say I can't just think about myself.
And if Phil Senior is watching,
Phil Senior's watching right now, yes.
He is the coolest man on the planet. Just so you know, the coolest man on the planet. The only guy right now who's looking at my denim jacket right now going, I've got a better one than the cupboard, mate.
He probably will have that. But yeah, I've always got to think of him in this case, well, because I go to the games with him. This is the thing me and my dad do. We love Celtic. I'm a Celtic fan because of my dad. We go to the games together, so I need to take that in consideration as well. Would a move around the stadium that we've been sitting in that stand since 2007, would that be really beneficial to us? I don't know about that. And one thing that did worry me the most when I read the leaflet that was handed out was the final paragraph that Steve read out there about the club will soon launch a fan census which will cover the demand for standing. The way that reads to me is every fan at the stadium is going to ask, not necessarily the ones that are sat and there, how far will our vote go, the ones that do sit there? That'd be my biggest concern right now. How far does my voice really get listened to in this?
Okay.
If it's basically the minority.
How do they know this already, Phil?
They've got it.
So they've obviously had a wee bit of communication with the club already. Do they feel they're in a place where we could push this now? Is that right?
I would think so. I mean, they can't have just spawned this overnight. There has to be some kind of groundwork done here that there is a demand for this. But is it demand from people in other parts of the stadium? have they actually genuinely engaged the people who do sit in that area and have got a sort of idea that they would like to stand? Because again, from what I just gathered from just a small portion of social media, a lot of it is a lot of younger generation fans who sit in other parts of the stadium. And I'm just like, so I'm basically no important in this. My dad's no important in this. Anyone that sits around me is no important in this. Just like, you lot get out of there. We want your space. And it's like, I've sat here since 2007. I've paid money every year to sit there. So I like my view. I really like my view in the stadium. So it's like, I'd be a bit peed off to have to get moved to another section. It's like, that does not work for me, basically.
Steve-O, this is where
Yes.
the division you were addressing there a minute ago. Thanks for reading that statement out, because I think it's good that everyone's now heard it. Everyone in the live chat's 122 live. Hit that like button, you bastards. But by a program in the way. But everyone who's listening right now has heard that statement that you read out, right?
Yep.
And do you know what? I'm seeing in the comments the dividing opinion already. The judge is very strong one way. But other people are going, well, is that not a democracy, Phil? 60,000, 50,000 season ticket holders. We asked the 50,000 to vote. But because you're in the stand, are you saying, Phil, that you just want the 8, 9, 10,000 that are in that stand? They're the only ones. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
Steve-O, from a fan's point of view, all it does to me is cause division that's unnecessary right now. It's like when we get to a point of strength, we're determined to unfold it. Maybe it's me going, we've not spent enough on transfers, and folk are like, what's wrong with this guy? Like, he's always moaning. This one, though, becomes part of your living room. This is part of the furniture, the fixtures and fittings. They want a drastic change. Now, if there's been already discussions with Celtic on it, and it's led them to get to the stage where Celtic went, do you know what? Ask them what they think. Tell me the reasons why it'd be a yay or a nay.
So, firstly, I do apologise because this might be a bit dry, but I'd rather we deal in the real world, deal in the facts, right? Okay. I've got a wee bit of sort of knowledge through friends and what have you about planning, permission and the likes for, in and around Glasgow, for events and for the likes of stadiums and stuff, right? So, firstly, there's various hurdles. There's obviously the fan hurdle, such as those that are directly affected, okay? Now, I understand to touch on what everybody's saying about it being a democracy and everybody should be included in that. I think that becomes a bit of a grey area because, if you're directly affected with it, then surely in the first instance, that people, they should be sampled. So let's just say they took the 10,000, whatever it is, and it ended up, it was
I totally get where you're coming
6,000 against, 4,000 in favour, right? And then they went round the whole entire stand out. Let's be totally honest, see if you sit at the complete opposite end, you probably don't care. I know that sounds really flippant, but you probably don't care if there's an all-standing section or not, because you've got your seat, you're happy with your seat, and you're there.
You're not affected.
Well, you're not, and listen, don't get me wrong, everybody would love mega atmosphere, and you do this, the quote, the yellow walnut, and it's fantastic. Who wouldn't want to see something like that? But unfortunately, it's not quite as easy as just, we want, and it happens. Now, in terms of the planning, permission aspect of it, any major sporting event, and this could be whether it's rugby, things like the hockey centre, even Scotstoun, there's the small stadium there. These all fall under criteria in Glasgow, which is called designated sporting stadia, right, or stands. And what they need is a safety certificate. So they need to be assessed, and that's provided by the council, etc., etc. So see when you get the closures and things like that, that's because there's been a highlighted issue and it doesn't meet the criteria of being classed as being safe to open for whatever reason, all right? So based on that, point one, it might get voted by fans, and then it goes to the board, and then it would go to a proposal. And then what they bring together is something that they would call a multi-agency safety advisory group, right? Who would be involved in that? Well, obviously there would be the club, probably the SFA, league body, Then there'd be emergency services. Glasgow City Council, obviously, because they're the ones that grant these things. And then you'd have the likes of police, ambulance, fire brigade, stewarding, stuff like that. All right. And they would chew the fat, and they would go through the pros and the cons. And the fundamental underlying point is it all needs to be considered. Could this be made safe? Now, again, this is boring and this is what people don't want to hear, but we've got to be honest. There's been enough issues, unfortunately, with the current 2,700 standing section in terms of fines, antisocial issues, whether that's been the pyro things, flags and banners, they're by the by, but we've got to include them. So anything that we've basically been fined for and stuff like that, all right? And there's been quite a lot, if we're being totally honest, and I know from people that sit in and around the stand that there's been evidence of people getting hit with stuff like flares that have been discarded and, bottles and stuff like that. I'm not saying that's the general what people do, but all right, you can say it's a past incident, but you've got to look at them and they'll bring them all together and they'd really magnify that standing section's track record, if you will, over its time being opened. And then they would be thinking, right, well, we need to then multiply that by X amount, and how's that going to look? So that's one of the first major stumbling blocks, which I personally, this is just my personal thoughts, I don't think it would get over the line because of some of the problems.
So let's push against that, Steve-O, and say, well, how's it got to the stage? Because, as you rightfully, I agree with you, by the way, if you want my personal thruppings on it, I agree. How does it get to the stage where they're putting this out there? Surely that means the club have okayed this movement, this potential vote. Surely no? And surely they would be as acutely aware as anyone. Can't get that in, eh? But surely they would be as acutely aware though as anyone as to the reasons you're giving there as to why it would be a health hazard. No.
Well, again, it's really hard to tell. I'm as shocked as everybody, to be totally honest with you, where it's come out of, because it just appears to have appeared out of absolutely nowhere. Now, again, I'm just going to caveat this. All right, I'm not speaking as in the know. I'm just broadly speaking. So see, before I knew we were going to do this, I reached out to a lot of friends who are located in stadiums, some on Phil's side, to get what was their opinions when they get leaflets, what was the chat around them, and also have some friends that work and sort of are seated in and around the current Green Brigade section. And I do know as well, and I actually know some people that work at Celtic Park and a match day capacity. And then some of them as well, I know some people that have been stewards. And listen, I'm not saying that what they're telling me is 100% the gospel, right? I can only go on the good will of people that I know and that I trust. And what I've been told is that in terms of safety or whatever, from a stewarding and emergency services aspect, that section's almost like been blackballed. It's a no-go zone. Now, I know that folk will say he's talking shite. There's hundreds of police and ambulance and stewards everywhere. What I've been told by these people is not in terms of just being in the area. I mean, if something goes happen, say, for talking's sake, 3 or 4 guys are battling each other. I know it sounds dark, because you shouldn't be fighting amongst yourself, but let's just say that happened, right? Sure. I'm talking about going in, stewards to go in and physically deal with those people. It's said to me that it's a no-go area. So if that's potentially if that's potentially the chat from people that I know that have done stewarding, or people
you're now multiplying this, eh? You're now going multiply that by.
As I say, and listen, I've known that this is some people that I know and that work for Celtic on a match day. All right, so they're low down on the pecking order at the club, right? But they're in about it, all right. So I'm not to call them liars. I'm just saying what they've said. Now, listen, I know we can go into this and say stewards are heavy-handed police. We're never going to cover this. We're just looking at broad facts and talking broadly, because it's a broad subject. So all I'm saying is if you look at it in that and say that's the feeling inside the club, then how can you multiply that and guarantee that that's going to be safe for all involved? Because you can't. And that's what I'm saying. When it comes to them making decisions, they make decisions based on they make decisions based on the can we guarantee the safety of this, and it's all about a dip sample. There's nothing really on a huge scale to compare it against in our country, unfortunately.
But would the evidence then, though, Steve, well, based on what you're saying, would the basis then of what you're saying there going, times that by 10, that's what that stand will be? And if there's a no-go area already with what we've got in place, then fuck me. How do you...
I genuinely don't know. I genuinely don't know. Listen, I don't have any great in the know about this. I'm just, talking broadly. And I would imagine they've got to do something like that. That they've got to do a projection. Now, let's be totally honest here. The first thing I want to say is I think it would look brilliant. Of course, it would be amazing. I am not shitting on the party here. I'm just trying to have a balance and look at it. Take off my Celtic supporter glasses and look at it from a real world perspective. Do you know what I mean? It's like you and I talking about signings and wanting every signing to be a 6 or 7 million players. That's brilliant. That's what we all want. But there's reasons maybe why it doesn't happen. And I think that for me, that there's just too many stumbling blocks. Now, people say it'll be the police or it'll be the fire or whoever that will stop it. I don't know so much. It's got to be a joint up thing. The board have obviously got, it's their gift to hide behind other people. Do you know what I mean? So let's just think that, take for example the fines and stuff that we've got, right? I know that they're minuscule, but think of the fines that we maybe get for a small area and then times that. So coming back to it being, is it financially beneficial to the club? It's probably not if there's going to be an increased potential of fines and stuff. And they'll have that at the back of their mind because they're businessmen.
Now, Phil, Steve was actually hitting a lot of home truths there, in my opinion. Yeah. And by the way, thanks for the facts that you're giving there, because I wouldn't have known any of that shite. I'm saying it shite now. I just mean I wouldn't have known that, right? And it's quite insightful. I look at it from, when you simplify things, Phil, and you go, he's right. These £20,000 fines, are they based on how many fans are making political banners or whatever it is? FC UK with the countdown stuff. Remember UEFA? Then you make that banner then covers 10,000. Does that mean the fine becomes 100 grand because it's 5 times bigger and it's 5 times as many people displaying it? I don't know. It seems to me though, when you look at Celtic as a board, I genuinely think that becomes, I already think they look at the Green Brigade at times as a problem. And I think they know the benefits of the Green Brigade being there. And I also think they know what it comes with. I think the more oxygen you give them, yes, you need to appease them as well, because they're an important part of it now. They've wedged their way in, whether the board like that or not. They are part of the fabric. And maybe the new age fans that Lennon was referring to, I think he was. But also, if you let that then spiral, and this doesn't mean to spiral because obviously they're putting an argument forward or a debate forward and a perspective situation where they're going, this is based on facts and it's something that you need to regard. I get that. But when you strip it all away, I just think the Celtic board go, we also need to be in charge. And is this then us giving them one arm on the steering wheel?
Do you know?
Go on, Steve.
Sorry. Can I just let's get the elephant in the room right out of the way, right? Money. Now, this is just, I want to just break this down. This is just my opinion. See, when the standing section was first brought in at Celtic Park, God knows how many years it's been there. I can't even. It's almost just part of the furniture now, right? It was essentially a plaything that was given to them to say, there you go, that's your thing, right? It cost them whatever it cost them to put it in. And it was almost like reward to say, there you go, that's your thing. But also, if you think about it at the same time, there was a wee bit of football politics in play. Celtic wanted to be the first in the UK and be seen to be trailblazers and showing it could be done. And it looked great on our CV and as being a progressive club and all that kind of stuff. Now, I don't know how much that cost to put in, but let's be fairly honest here.
It looked good though, being the trailblazer of it, Steve-O.
Of course it did.
It looked good. Like we're the first.
And potentially and potentially to come back to the positive.
Yes.
This could be another inning for that. I just think that unfortunately there's too much nitty gritty that goes with it, and things that are more stumbling blocks. But what I will say is think of how much it would cost. I don't know, what's the Lord Jock Stein? Let's just for a round figure say it's 10,000, right? Think of the amount of million, because it would be millions, it would be, to regenerate that entire stand, right?
Aye.
Now, we always criticise the board about not wanting to spend money because they're thinking about saving money and getting return. It says on that leaflet that it will generate more money. Now, I'm sorry.
What are they
In
basing
what
that
manner
on?
does that bring in more money?
Because
it's say it's 6 million, but just picking a figure, say it's 6 million to regenerate that whole area. It's just 6 million spent.
Yeah.
Seeing less to turn around and saying, right, so we've now given you a standing section, but your ticket will now be £150 to £200 extra each season.
Yep.
Now, that's maybe how it would generate money over time, but can you imagine the reaction to that? Now, I dare say there'll be folk who are fortunate enough to have got the money and could pay it, but I'm just playing devil's advocate. The only way it's going to generate income for the club is if they rattle up the finances and the money that it costs to be in that section. And that in itself would get the backs up as well, I think.
Phil, Steve-O's actually kind of shown you a wee bit though of insight there into the pros of this as well. And we are open to the debate, by the way. And there's a lot of people in the comments right now that are saying, whoa, wait there now. We also need to move with the times here, Phil. And yeah, it's brilliant that you have got that seat. But how does the club stand still ever make it in the future? They won't. If you're standing still, that's where you're stuck in a space of time. And I get the emotional stuff you're talking about, especially with your dad. I get that. I'm just, again, my personal opinion is kind of irrelevant. I'm just trying to steer the bus, if you like, into directions of travel that show both arguments, because I think it's very important. And you've got to kind of also see if it, like Monty, for example. Monty's a veteran and a big handsome bastard as well.
Yeah.
We've met Monty. Right, and it's scary. But he's sound as. But he's someone who I didn't expect to be on board with this. Yeah, he's going, look, I might not like the optics, another one.
I love the optics.
Going through all the great sets tonight, mate.
Oh, this Terry. Terry loves the optics.
It's an optic tonight. Hey, well, certainly in the bus. And I feel like I'm drinking it with him. Honestly, I can't remember finishing up the last PMP. I can't remember the last time I finished a PMP and I actually knew I was finishing it. I kind of up on my own too last week. Anyway, Monty was someone I had down, Phil, as being don't like it, not. Yeah, he's got this other side of it where he's going, we maybe need to accept it. Think how good it would look. Think how much it takes us to the next stage. Steve-O absolutely fundamentally is right. This would be an expensive exercise to do based on ideologies of the same people, and I'll go back to it, that frustrate me at times for all the joy, all the brilliance, all the energy they bring. At times I find patronising as fuck when they talk to me about politics. I don't need told by a guy in a skull mask who to vote. I don't need to be told Rod Stewart's not welcome here. Really? Like what? Because you're telling me, what do you even know about anything? No offense, but like my life separate from Celtic is not dictated to me by guys in black hoodies, right? Simple as that. So when they've got a vision, how much of a pinch of salt can you take it with? Or flip it and look at the likes of Monty and go, have they got a point? Is this the next step for Celtic?
You know,
is this the way forward? I'm going to go to Phil first, Steve-O, mate.
No, that's fine.
I'm going to go to Phil first on that.
Okay, so the first point there is, moving with the times and taking this to the next level. So my question back to that is, does it? Because to me, spending money on what's on the park is what takes us to the next level and makes us competitive. I see Borussia Dortmund were obviously quoted as the example. The yellow wall that they talk about in a Westfalen Stadion, and it's like, yeah, it's impressive. It's great. But here's a fact for you, right? Borussia Dortmund haven't won the German league since 2012. Borussia Dortmund have got a few German cups in the last decade. They've not won a European trophy since 1997. They're quite competitive at Champions League level, But ultimately, what do we talk about in the bus that we always want to get away from on those big Champions League nights? We want points, not plaudits. We want to actually compete on the park. We don't want some, big time player like Neymar. Well, Neymar wouldn't say anything nice about us, to be fair. Mbappe or whatever come out saying, "Oh yeah, I mean, it was a tough game, but I really enjoyed the atmosphere at Celtic Park. Oh, that wall behind the green wall behind that goal. Oh, it was amazing." But they still beat us 4-0 and stuff like that. To me, I would much rather, and Steve rightly pointed out about the expenses, I'd much rather that was spent on players on the park and improving us in that level, taking us in that direction, spend it on, the youth system and so forth, and try and improve the club or what's on the park. That's just my opinion on it. And I know
the comments, by the way, Phil, are so split here. It's unreal.
Well,
I like that, by the way, because that tells me the one thing I'll give them their due for. This was worth pushing. Because if there's a debate to be had, then fair dues. That means it was worth having. You must see the comments right now, Phil. There's a split here, eh?
Yeah, oh God, I can see it calling them and it is very 50-50. But yeah, that's just sort of my feelings on it regarding, and Steve's right about the expenses. I remember when we installed the infamous disco lights, and we had we flopped that was the year that we flopped in the Champions League qualifiers against Athens, and then people were up in arms about, we spent 4 million on the lights, and it's like, we could have spent that on players. It's like, but the club went to that one for to make it was to get an upgrade for UEFA standards or something. But as far as I know, a standing section behind the Joneses,
though. It was to keep up with the Joneses.
But as a standing section, something that falls under UEFA criteria, I don't think that does. The lights, maybe the floodlight system has to be of a certain level, but I don't know if that ticks any sort of criteria. So I can get why the club may have done that with the lights, but to me, if it was going to cost, say, 6 million, as Steve said, just for a talk's sake, think of the players that we could get with 6 million in the current environment we seem to operate in. Well, as you always say, Russell, we should be spending a lot more than 6 million at this stage in 2023. But that's another debate for another time.
Well, if they find 6 million, as we're just banding about, by the way, loosely, because we don't know the cost, right? Just say it is the cost of the record signing under Ange. I'm like, if you found the money to fucking do that, where's my next Jota? Where's my next Cameron Carpet Slippers? Steve-O, let's get your next take, because at the end of the day, as I say, this is dividing chat, but I don't want that to push our discussion either direction.
No,
I think it's very important to be very balanced here.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a bit of me, and I can't deny it, no offense, Phil, to you and your dad, that goes, fucking imagine those flags, like that stand behind the goal, like all of them standing see when they did the video, as much as I thought it was fucking way, I thought it was shite, right? It's not the truth. But the wee clips, and you look at that wall at Dortmund, Steve, and you go, fucking, imagine that at Celtic Park.
Yeah.
Think how steep it is as well. And everyone's standing. Absolutely. But money at Celtic is a funny thing, because it's very much a talking point in the bus. You know my frustrations with it. We've had different views on that. I just wonder, considering whatever percentage it would be, I mean, we are absolutely guesstimating how much this would cost to do. But considering what we do know is it would take a healthy chunk of that percentage of what revenue is there.
Huge.
I think I would be sitting there then scratching my head if the transfer window wasn't as aggressively taken up as something like this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. You make a cracking point there. And I think that's where the board...
They're broken clocks twice in a fucking day, mate.
They'll find themselves now at a crossroad, because the financial... Break it down to financials, right? Now, see, just before I go into that, I was aside of my eye and listen, the comments are brilliant. I'm really enjoying the debate, and that's what we want. It says, no, much like ourselves, we're going to cover the good as well as the potential quote-unquote negatives, right? But I saw some comments, and I just want to mention them as well, because I think there's so much in depth for this that it's easy to miss them. One, that's where all the corporate boxes are, and the restaurants and stuff, right?
Aye.
That's a lot of money that's been invested in that stuff, and a lot of money gets brought in. Now, I know you don't want to say, I don't want to upset the prawn sandwich brigade and all that nonsense, right? But the facts are, imagine you've paid that, or they've done that restaurant and they're going to fire, you're going to fire standing section. There's going to be stickers slammed on the windows and all that, right? That's just basic nonsense, right? But just think of that.
You're right. Look, Stephen Coulthard, mate.
And then
Stevie
also,
Coulthard's addressed the same thing as you,
Aye.
Steve-O.
also they want to put it in a section next to the boys who they fight with, as it is, together, and let it grow exponentially because they'll all get on like a house on fire. Probably not, will they? But no, listen, let's take that aside. That was just be comments. I thought we got to throw them in because they've been mentioned. But no, like, they find themselves at a crossroads with us because let's just say, in principle, my genuine belief is I don't think it would get past the council plan, and that's just me for the various things that we've covered. All right, so I'll just say that right now. I think it would be a brilliant spectacle to look at. I'm never going to deny that, but I'm just trying to look at it, as I say, through eyes of reality. All right, now listen, see if it happens. If it happens, then brilliant. I'll be happy to eat it and drink it in and see it in all its glory. But at this moment in time, if you ask me what my thoughts on it, these are my thoughts, and I don't think it's feasible. But if it doesn't happen, they have to spend the money elsewhere, whether that's infrastructure for training, whether it's improving the quality of the pitch, or just putting better players on the pitch. They have no excuse.
So and now, Steve-O, now we take the conversation a different level, because then you could argue they're fighting the good fight here, because they're basically now saying you've shown your hand, i.e. via publicly displayed accounts, half-year accounts that are record-breaking. What are you doing with that money, mate?
Yeah.
What are you up to with that money? We've got an idea. We want some of it to be spent. And see if not, sound. But now we're now putting the microscope on it. The torch is being shined on. So if it's not that, which they'll obviously speak as if they're the whole fan base, that's their gift. I get that. But they'll now go, well, what are you going to spend that money on? Where is it now going? And do you know what? Sometimes, Phil, the club being held to account in this weird way it's going about right now actually might be not the worst thing in the world. I agree with like the likes of Tattoo Face there. I don't think it's going to happen, right? I generally don't. But it also does shine a light now that folk are acutely aware again. But they are though. But they are though, lads, of how much money you're sitting on. I want to see what you're going to do with it. Some self-indulgent fans, and I don't mean that in a negative. I imagine if you're a regular in the Green Brigade, they're sitting there going, imagine this times 10. It'd be fucking amazing, lads. Key blocks. Like, I get it. I totally get that. Yeah. But see, if you're going to disagree with Celtic, just out of curiosity, where is that money going, Phil?
Yeah, that's the danger of being in public knowledge now. Yeah, more people are going to start questioning it. And yeah, you're right too. When we have a underwhelming transfer window, which we're doing the Bustalgia series that we've done, we've seen enough of them over the years where, you know, you've wondered what on earth are they thinking with that investment there. But yeah, you know, you're right. They will be held to account if we do have a really stinking transfer window. If this doesn't go ahead. So that's always going to be a danger for them. And that's why I said earlier on, I would much rather that the money would get invested on what's on the park. To me, that is progression. And that's what I would much rather see in regards to this proposal that's been put forward. But yeah, we'll just need to see what comes out of it. At the moment, my personal feeling is, I don't know if it will happen or not. I'm still on the fence. If it does, so be it. But I still think a lot more communication needs to be had. We're at a very, very early stage here with this first pamphlet leaflet that's came out to the fans in that section. I feel like there need to be a lot more communication back and forth. And if it was to get the go-ahead, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next season. No. It's going to be a good few years down the line. And I suppose all sorts of compromises would be made. But yeah, these are all bridges that we need to cross when we come to it. But my feeling at the moment is, ideally, I would prefer not to move, but we'll see. We'll see what further communication comes out and what other plans are on the table and so forth, and then we can go from there.
It's a leverage point, Steve-O. Yeah. This is the thing, it's a leverage point, regardless. And I think, by the way, Monty's coming in here and he's talking about the intimidation thing. I can't be a hypocrite on here, Steve-O. I can't lie. I said before the Champions League, I went, Kimlet, it's too nice to come to Celtic now.
Yeah.
I used to say it all. I was like, it's too nice. It's actually now like the spectacle. You know, folk come and the players go, can't wait for you to never walk alone.
Pish.
Right? But Steve-O, this used to intimidate folk. Now it's, can't wait to sample that. So something has to change. I remember, I don't know if you remember the drum I banged, Phil, which would be far, far more cost effective. And that would be take the UEFA fine, and after the Champions League anthem's played, play the Celtic song. Just
said
play
that,
it.
aye,
Fuck
aye,
it.
said
10
that, aye.
grand fine. I was like, who cares? Nobody cares, mate. Play the Celtic song after. As the players. Dun, 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 dun.
Mhm.
You know,
I'm like, folk will go mental. It's like, it brings that era of suddenly it's a hotbed. Monty's obviously using it in a different way.
Yep.
And he's saying, well, if that stand was there and it were to be a standing section, he thinks that. I think I think Monty's crying out for the days of make it Martin O'Neill again. Remember we went, how many games did we go unbeaten at home? It was a shambles. And I think folk are now, and I don't mean this offensively, I think we're clutching at straws a wee bit. We're trying to find the remedy, the formula, make Celtic Park a fortress a wee bit again. And this is the latest sort of one on the list, Steve-O. Do you think this will help? Shall we go for it? You know what I mean?
well, aye, listen, I think, again, I'm loving the debate. I think that the comments, it's surprising how, you know, extreme for one another it is. As it says, listen, we're just here to deep dive it and look at all aspects of it. What I would say is, in terms of the atmosphere, listen, there's no doubt what an atmosphere it would be. And see this whole thing about it's birthday card pish, where it's players come out and give it the what an atmosphere and what sample it right now. Yeah, listen, fan power and spectacle and a big stand like that and everything, it can bring an element of it might bring an element of intimidation and everything, right?
It would look cool.
No,
Be
of course
honest,
it would, right?
cool.
And fans and the noise that they generate, you know, there's no doubt in my mind it will give the players a wee bit extra. But if you really break it down, quality of players on the pitch and how they're set up win games, not how loud the fans are. They maybe give you a wee bit extra, but I'm fully with Phil on it that I would definitely rather see solid investment in better players. And by better players producing better performances, that'll engage the crowd more. It'll naturally make things louder, in my opinion. You know, it's all part and parcel.
You're right.
When the team's playing well, the crowd are playing well, and things like that. So we've got to look at that. And see, we talk about going back to the years of Martin O'Neill and stuff. Now, I've been going to games since I was like, 8? And, you know, I'm 37 now. And I've never... I can remember over the years fantastic atmospheres at Celtic Park without a Green Brigade, without a standing section. It does exist and it is possible. So
here we go. Steve-O, I'll come straight back to you on that. I feel when I go to Celtic Park, not very often this season, don't get me wrong, too busy running the bus and all that shit and being an armchair supporter, Phil. Don't even know where Celtic Park is, apparently. But I feel that in the last decade, you can't sing unless the Green Brigade have started the song. Now, in my 20s, the song could start for any corner of the ground, anywhere, and then it just carries flow, and it just suddenly, all right, we're on our feet and we're just singing along. Now it has to come from the Green Brigade.
So otherwise,
you look like you're a diddy.
Why
I know, Steve-O, this is what I'm saying. I totally agree with you, pal.
Yep.
But I think if you stand up in any other section of the North Curve, I think if you stand up anywhere and start going, well, it's a handle to full, like, sit down, mate. Nobody cares, mate. Right? It's like, oh, all right. But yeah, if they start singing it, oh, all right, mate, nodding along. I'm kind of jigging a wee bit. Before you know it, we'll all follow their lead. Everything now stems from that. And this is where the tail begins to wag the dog. Know what I mean? And that is where we're at.
It's quite a sad, I think it's quite a sad indictment where we went over the years, that if we became so dependent on one group leading the way. And again, I say it, listen, they create a fantastic atmosphere and they do so much in terms of atmosphere and everything else. But again, looking at it roundly, I believe that for every really great thing that they do, there's always a time when they take away with the other hand. Now, this is I can see the comments, and I really don't care if I sound like I'm moaning fuck, right? I'm sorry. I'm just trying to look at it from a broader perspective, right?
That, keep telling the truth.
The thing is
important.
It is, mate, right? And here's the thing, is I think the Green Brigade have an absolutely tremendous opportunity to build their reputation for good out with those that love them. Because let's face it, they really divide the opinion of the large support. Now, see all the stuff that they do with the tifos, the charity work and all that. It's amazing. It is brilliant. It is to be clapped. It's to be commended. What I want to know is, why can't we harness all that good? You know, we always look upon ourselves being a club with great morals and great community spirit and, you know, really, as they say, vociferous support for our club, loud and proud and in there again at large, right? Why can't they focus on all the good stuff they're doing and times that by 10? Do you know what I mean? Why does it have to go down this route where, listen, I won't, see the pyro, it looks brilliant. So see if the fine comes out and they do it and they're happy, whatever, right? But what I mean is it just seems that over the years, as it's got more traction, it's became more of a thing, there's became slight wee teething problems with it that have not helped the club's image. Why can't they just be focusing on the good that they do?
See if you were ever going to send that leaflet to Phil's chair, right? And I'll come to you, Phil. If you were ever going to put that flyer on your chair, I think you do it from a position of strength. Yes. I don't think you do it on the back of a banner last week, and I know he is a CUNT. That's fine. That to me though was the most basic, like laddish football factory-esque banner they've ever done. Loads of the stuff they've done. Remember the Lenny one. Remember they were all on the horses.
Yeah, the Four Horsemen. Yep.
That is genius. Like I'm sitting there going, that's proper clever.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last one, I'm like, why would it be on the back of that? You're then trying to influence people that we're in a position of knowledge and power here. I'm going to go to Phil, Steve-O, if that's all right, mate. And then
listen, I was following up on what you're saying because you're hitting a good point there, mate.
And I just feel like that banner last week, I thought it was them at their lowest. And not because necessarily I disagree with the sentiment, Phil. That's my gift to disagree or agree with that, by the way. And nobody will be telling me what I think of a politician, yay or nay. Could I just say? But I just didn't get it. I just thought it's so basic, so shy. Like for all the amazing ones they've done, I was like, I would have done it on the back of something that captured the imagination.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, like I'm saying the Four Horsemen, like that one, you do a banner like that, and then the next week you go, imagine $10,000. And I'm kind of maybe directing this conversation in a different direction of travel. I'm going, get what? They're geniuses. This is like, look how creative that is. I just felt, I don't think it was that. I think it was a poor hand to have played the week before to then start making your biggest play of all time. Nah, I don't know. Don't get it.
Yeah, it did feel a bit like they kind of let themselves down essentially because they're better than that. They've got better. You say what? You know, they've had some clocking banners over the years. Some of the stuff they came out with, some of the displays and the tifos, and then it's like that was just there was no imagination to it at all. It's not what I was expecting because the way they did it at the stadium was they put up the bit saying VAR decision and then did a long delay, which we're used to because when we do get a VAR decision, there's a long delay. So it's one of those, waiting for what it is. And then the banner comes up and you're like, obviously, I totally agree with the sentiment, no doubt about it. It's very much the truth. But it's like, I was expecting like it'd be quite witty and like very funny.
That was what it got me. It's not because I'm offended. Oh, God, come on. Do you know what I mean? As I say, I'm 35. I know I don't look at ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not like going, oh, my God. I was so sad. And in this snowflake era, I'm like, did they use the see you next Tuesday word and all that? I just thought it was basic. And I'm like, they've highlighted their ability to hit, like to strike the right note, Phil, so many times before in the past.
Oh, God,
real wit, real almost humour, and a poignant message. This was not on the back of that. This was basic stuff. And I don't think that strengthens their hand when they're then trying to tell the rest of the supporters what they want for the future of the stadium. I think there will be a lot of fans, whether you want to admit it, whether you don't, there'll be a lot of fans, not necessarily us, that will have seen that banner and go, I'm not backing anything they fucking do.
Aye, it was blunt force trauma to the face, that banner. That's what that was. And just also on top of something you were talking about a few minutes ago, where one of my biggest pet hates has been when we've had nights when the Green Brigade have been banned for whatever reason. Something's happened and the club have had to make an example of them. They've shut the section. And there's always this big outcry on social media about it. And a lot of people going, oh, who's going to sing now? It's like, well, you can sing. But if Russell, as you rightly pointed out, somebody tries to sing and then it's like, oh, sit down, mate. We find ourselves in this weird predicament where they're very much needed because nobody else actually wants to take it on board and make the effort to let it happen. This is such a weird position we find ourselves in around them on nights when they have been banned and shut out for whatever reason. But who's going to sing now? And then remember there was a game last season where they did a 30-minute silent protest and people tried to blame the reason we dropped points to Livy that day on them doing a 30-minute protest. No, the fact we just didn't put the ball in the net that day and we missed a penalty in the last minute. But there were fans out there going, it's all the Green Brigade's fault for doing a 30-minute protest. Well, you make some noise there if you're that up in arms about it. But in a
and
weird
that is the flip side. I was there that day, the Livingston game. Me and Jonathan were there, and I can remember I said to him, you'd feel awkward starting the song, don't you? And he goes, aye, it would feel awkward. And you feel, this is not, by the way, I could be totally wrong, but my honest opinion, as someone who only gets to go a handful of times a season, Steve, I felt, I'd take it ready if I started like trying to get a song started. And I feel like they would turn around and scowl. You're not supporting our protest? What do you mean you're not supporting the protest? Tennis ball in the head. Before you know it, I'm like Andy Murray. Do you know what I mean? Great enough to get beat at Wimbledon. Like Roger Federer. Do you know what I mean? Oh, promised I wouldn't do this, guys, but it's a weird one, Steve, because how do you square the circle? I think they're in now, and they are that important. They do start the songs. Remove them, eventually it will just go back to the old system where, did you just hear 10:30 folks starting singing the Celtic song there? We'll join in, and then the waves just carry on, and the whole stadium does. Now, it has to be started from one area. Now that area wants to get bigger. Now, I'm saying that as if it's a negative. Flip it. You could look at it, Steve, and go, do you know what? Why would you not want more of that corner? Why would you not want that Green Brigade, a bigger, larger version? Because if they're the ones singing the songs, boys say, you're too scared to, why the fuck would you not want more of them there? I think that's a strong argument too.
Yeah, I mean, here's something to break it down really. Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it. It's nice to realise that you're not a total dick according to everybody. But I'll be here all week, boys and girls, all right? There's plenty more where this came from. Get your tinfoil hats on, strap yourself in. Nah, listen, we jest.
Sacked in the morning, by the way. Sacked in the morning.
We jest. No, listen, all I want to say is I think that, see the big thing for any supporters group, whether it's the boys or smaller, I dare say if anybody wanted to start a new group, or indeed the established Green Brigade, see when you put a big time proposal like this to the fans, it's all about winning hearts and minds, right? Now, see as you said about banners and things like that, this is again just my opinion, but you can't just come out of absolutely nowhere, put out a video, drop a leaflet on somebody and expect everybody to get on board and think it's brilliant. Now, admittedly, there will be people that just can't get enough of it. No, it's fucking brilliant, and they'll eat it up. But what they need to do is, in my opinion, build their reputation in a positive way over a more prolonged period of time, rebuild their reputation among the wider fan group rather than just the small that are fully invested in it. Now, I can't stress this enough. They are absolutely fantastic at what they do, atmosphere-wise. Some of the tifos, some of the displays, and again, I say it, the charity stuff is outrageously good, and it doesn't get enough praise. Accentuate all the good that you do, minimise the negative. Now, I'm not wanting to censor folk and tell them what they should sing, what they should display, and all that nonsense. All I'm saying is surely you've got to have a wee bit of you that thinks to say, right, if we keep on racking up stupid fines, then all right, is petty and we'll pay for it. Because I know that they sometimes raise funds for paying it and stuff to give an equal amount to charity or whatever. Fantastic. But just take a step back and think, right, we want to get everybody on side. How do we do that? We'll see all the positives that we do. Let's do more of that. Let's become more known for that. Let's stop the petty squabbling with other groups of fans outside the park and all that crap right now. I know that's part and parcel of football. It's been about for years. But what I mean is as well as being this idea of an ultra, do you not think the term ultra has got a negative connotation on it? Now, I'm not saying really guys.
I don't know.
But I'm saying I know that sounds. Well, it does, but it maybe sounds generalised. But what I mean is
I don't think it brings a negative side to a 21-year-old.
Well, there's some folk that want to live and breathe that image.
But that's their gift, mate. And there's a lot of youngsters, mate. There's a lot of youngsters, mate. That might be hip. That might be in vogue. We're past that, right? Because we're old bastards, whether you like it or not. And it's difficult sometimes to elevate or transport yourself back in time. But maybe being part of a movement like Ultra, when you were a 21-year-old Steve-O, might actually be a calling card for you. You might have been, Kimberly, I fucking actually do love that ideology. I love that narrative. I want to dress like my pals. I want to be part of it. And Ultras just happens to be the label that's flipped about, Phil. Right, well, I just think it's important for the context that at times I'm Steve, I'm not getting at you, by the way, because I'm guilty of it myself. I feel you also need to remember the world's changing. S Cup 7 just reunited and folk are buying tickets out of 21. What's all that about? Do you know what I mean? I'm like, they were shite when I was young. But there's this new wave that are going, when the world leaves you feeling blue. I'm like, feeling what? Feeling fucking what? Get them in the bin right now. Do you know what I mean? Like, Phil, I think Steve-O's maybe got a point, right? But I also think I'm going to be a wee bit ageism on it and go, Steve-O, we're 30 to 40 years old now, between the late 30s. Maybe we're just a pair of Jack and Victors. Do you know what I mean? Going, I don't want to be an ultra. Oh, an ultra. Oh, fuck all that. It's like, maybe that's not quite like, do you know what I mean? Like, a wee bit of respect as well when you forget who you are when you're that age and what it is to be a part of a band, a team, a movement. Do you know what I mean?
No, the camaraderie is solid. You can't. There's a togetherness there that's massive, right? So again, maybe I'm just generalizing.
Bastard, mate.
Maybe I'm just exactly. Maybe I'm generalizing. But what I mean is focus. All I would want to see the Green Brigade do is continue what you're doing, but focus on accentuate the positives, become more known for that, and try to, if you can, avoid these wee side abstractions that, because listen, I know it's petty fines, but in terms of winning hearts and minds, whether that's a council that are going to potentially grant you planning permission for stadium change, or the wider fans like me or you that are maybe doing a wee bit of moaning on a podcast, think larger than just what you want and think of opinions elsewhere. We always have this opinion of nobody cares, mate, I don't give a fuck or whatever. But it's fact, you've got to consider the wider audience. You can't just hope that the majority are going to swing your way. You need to give them solid reason other than it'll look class. Think how noisy it'll be.
I know what you mean. But I also think, could we look at it, Phil, from their point of view? Are they seeing it differently?
Well, earlier on you were talking about, or you've mentioned before, we've been doing Bustalgia, you talked about the Martin O'Neill thing that you've got, like, you're going to try and put yourself back in, that era. It's something similar here where, if somebody says anything bad about Martin O'Neill, you're just like, no, he can't do anything wrong.
I can't handle it. And if someone says something bad about Ange, I get frustrated that he doesn't walk on water, mate. He's just a manager. If that's their Martin O'Neill, I'm banging out the order. Do you know what I mean? Like that. It frustrates me that I agree with you.
This situation's got a wee bit of similarity to that. But at the end of the day, the club is still all of us. We're all still Celtic fans, and I hate this sort of divide that's now becoming very apparent. And again, I'm going by social media. Again, I shouldn't, because again, that's only a small portion, it seems. But I just don't like this vibe where it's like, this isn't essentially your club anymore, old man. Your opinion doesn't matter anymore. This is your club now. And it's like, no. No, I still pay my money to go and see Celtics. I hate this whole divide that seems to be happening. And whatever the outcome of this vote is, it is going to, well, I say vote, I don't know how they're going to decide it, but whatever comes of it, it's going to rumble on after it, whatever the decision is. If they decide,
Do you think, Phil, I'm coming straight back to you, mate.
Sure.
I don't know why I'm sounding like Jim White here. Go straight back to you, mate. Honestly, mate.
It's because it's
Great
good
to have
debate,
you
mate.
on.
That's why.
Bill McGinley, mate. Honestly, unbelievable. He does Bustalgia on a Friday, and we're so glad to have you on the show.
How about that?
Charlie, what about that? Well, I'm just glad that we're all singing off the same spreadsheet. Anyway, right, for fuck's sake. Right, what was I even going to say?
I was talking about it was similar to your love, like the Martin and Neil thing. I was talking about that.
So, we cannot afford to get stuck in our time as well. We can't afford. See, sometimes forward-thinking ideas are not going to be in the guys that we recognise because we're cut for a different cloth, we're born in a different era. And sometimes the forward-thinking will be in ways that we go, that doesn't fucking help. That doesn't fucking help. Maybe it does at times. And maybe you don't want to be left behind. But see, when it comes down to it as well, from a financial point of view, we all became accountants when they went dead. Right? That is the truth. Everyone did. Everyone did. Even I have. Even like I can't deny it. Even I have went, actually, if you look at balance sheets and you look at it, I'm like, who am I talking to? I know nothing about this. Right? But there has to be also, with that in mind, because that was highlighted at that time, we do need to accept we are operating in an era where, is that financially feasible? Is that a business decision that makes sense for Celtic? I think, Phil, what we've got, forget their bullshit in that leaflet, that pamphlet, whatever it is, right? Buy one on the way out, by the way. But I think it's all the shite, right? When they say, they talk, don't even enter the money game. I think that's bluster and they're way above their station. I don't think they know what they're talking about with that. I think that's beyond their gift, shall we say. But what they've done is they're striving for the club and the fan base, and they think they curry favour right now to have power. Now, this power doesn't necessarily need to be filled, this fan stand, the Celtic end. But what it does mean is, how many are with us? Let's count up the numbers. Then find out how much power you've got. And before you know it, it might not be the stand that's actually the end game here. It might be more. It might, or less. It might be something they can go, we've got X, how many folk backed us for that? Right. We know we've got a wedge now of support that's bigger than we thought. Now we can take this board to task. Do you know what? It's a wee bit of me that goes, I don't mind that. Provided though, that's what I want. That's a selfish point of view. That's just the truth. But I wonder if out of all of this might not actually be forgetting the Celtic end. I agree with what Tattoo Face was saying. He was just like, it's not going to happen. And Steve was made it clear for so many reasons. It ain't logistically going to happen. But what does it do? Do you now find out once you've done this sort of poll, if you like, this de facto referendum, Nicola, once you've done that, right, do you start working out how many folk have got your back? Okay, we might not have got that, but what was the chances of us asking for this? We know how many folk are backing it, and that might be something that's far less divisive, but something that's very much, I'm all for that. Well, we've got the followers to do it. Boom. It's weird, eh? I wonder if this is right now a popularity contest that they're trialing. I think they went and go for the deepest thing you possibly can, knowing it's unrealistic. But what you take from it is how many folk are going to follow us. Do you know what I mean? And that might not be the worst outcome, by the way, because Celtic do, as I always say on here, need that light shone on them at times. That board's a shambles. Musical chairs brigade. That's what they fucking are.
Well, do you know one of your favourite things to talk about, Russell? The Eredivisie. When you bring it up, do you know that every club in that league has got a member of the ultras section on the board? That's like a fact in Holland. All the ultras have like a say on the
Can you
runnings of
imagine
a
that
club.
guy with the skull mask just coming in sitting at the board?
I don't know if they turn up to the meetings dressed in that sort of
with
stuff.
the two flares.
Aye.
Big skull mask going, 40 quid for the painter, the face painter.
Oh man. Oh,
but
do you understand where I'm coming from though? Maybe this is just a wee bit of pushing this board and just let them know there's a big voice behind us. Let's get things we want. Let's get someone getting paid more than £30,000 a week, like like the old days. I think it helps.
It definitely crossed my mind because again, it's like, well, where does it end? Is it going to be the full? I think they mentioned in the pamphlet about the ultimate goal was to get the top end of it done as well, but that's another story. But yeah, there is that thing where if that doesn't happen, they could easily use it as a de facto sort of thing to say, well, look, we've got all these people supporting us, so it could give them more leverage.
Mate, there was guys falling out the stands at the Shame game, just pissed. Can you imagine it'd be a standing section?
By the way, what a fall that is, by the way. Like, you know the song Back to Life, Back to Reality, Back to Life, Back to Turnstile 3. Like, whoa.
You've got to remember, see with Dortmund.
Like, I hate Hugh Dallas as well, but fuck that, by the way. Like, I'm not angry at him. I'm going to drop him. Bless his soul. I hope he's...
He just wanted to get to him. He was eager to get there, wasn't he?
Come on.
Well, see what I was going to say with Dortmund stand. That's one continuous stand. So the yellow wall they talk about is actually one tier.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine
just
a standing section
it's
on
like
an
gradual steps all the way up.
Aye. I couldn't
so
imagine.
It's a steady slope. It's not like tiered for one over the other.
To me, that'd be a disaster waiting to happen if there was a standing section.
Imagine an overhang and a standing and an overhang. Wow.
Aye. That does. With Dortmund's one, it's one continuous stand.
Yeah, it's just a big continuous and gradual steps up. Yeah.
Aye. It is. Oh man, but the thought that would, if I was up there and amongst that, I'd give me the fear if a goal went in the celebrations, the bedlam, it'd be like, oh, fuck, I'm going to fall over here.
See, whilst we're just talking about things that could be possible, right? Again, I know it affects a lot of people. Why not make another small seating section where the boys located right now, the opposite corner in that one low section?
Yes. I think that's fair.
It's an expansion, it's progression. Now you can have both of them shouting across to each other. That'll create a good atmosphere. It might not be as visually impressive.
I'll set one up, Paul. I'll set one up.
But think about that. Now that's a smaller portion of folks that have to relocate.
I think it's a great shout because do you know what as well? Whilst we want the club to be held to account, another fan segment such as what are they called now? What are
the boys? I think they used to, but they're not used to be the Style Mile Vandals, which is a terrible name.
The boys Celtic. They can then shine the light like the Green Brigade want to on the club. Then you've got this other fan move. They go, look, that's how wrong they've got loads of stuff. That Green Brigade lot. Look how right we're doing everything. I think this is important. This is healthy. I feel at times, Steve. I mean, like I say, I was taking the piss out of age earlier, but I have found it. I don't know where it comes from with us to think anyone's bigger than the team. The team come first. Everything I care about is Celtic on the team in green and white hoops. Don't care about the backgrounds, the religious beliefs. I think we're above and beyond all that shite. So I don't care if we had a guy, for example, like Chris Sutton, who maybe voted Tory in his day. Is he not welcome at Celtic? Is he not? No. Right. We sometimes we go beyond what is our gift. I think focus on the team. The team comes first. Don't get over ahead. It'd be like the bus becoming somewhere where we go. Before we announce Pie Sports on the sponsors, I'd just like to remind you all, vote Labour at the next election. Fuck do I think I'm doing that? Like, how ridiculous would that be? And I just wonder if at times you've got a section of support that just get a wee bit above the station at times, maybe when they creep into that. Whoa. I like what you do, mate. I love it, in fact, a lot of it. But park that if you think you're telling me what's right and wrong in the world and who to vote for, I don't. Now we've moved beyond, you know, singing the Celtic song together. Do you know what I mean? Are you getting it? You know, and by the way, your drummer's really good, but I ain't having that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes it's good to be brilliant at something. Don't then try and think that will then sort of dilute into other wee areas where you think, oh, well, folk like us for this. They'll also back us on. Wait, the new. I didn't want that to happen, Steve-O. Do you know what I mean? I didn't like that shit.
Mate, you better watch the opinions. You'll be getting accused of being a snowflake.
Does it bother me, mate? I'm sound.
I mean,
I'll tell you as a plus, by the way, a plus point from personal experience in the stadium, because right now you get the Green Brigade on one corner, say boys Celtic have been moved to the southwest corner near where I sit. See if they were all moved into one section, we wouldn't get that point where both sets of fans are singing the same song, but it's all out of sync. It's almost like there's an echo in the stadium, because usually boys Celtic are singing something different from what the Green Brigade are singing. And then every so often, it'll all just line up and both of them will hit the same song at the same time, but there'll be about a 10-second delay, and it's like, is there an echo in here? So see if they were all together in the one section, at least that would solve that one. So that's one instant plus that I could find. They'd all be on the same, literally the same hymn sheet, essentially, on that one.
Same spreadsheet, if you will.
Same spreadsheet,
Charlie, mate. Charlie, mate. But Steve-O, do you know what's so funny in all this debate? We've been an hour and 21 minutes, pal. Right?
Wow.
But do you know what I've not asked you yet? How fucking good are Celtic the new? We are on fire, by the way, baby.
Cooking, mate. Cooking.
Talk to me about Celtic.
You know, yesterday was just a perfect day, a perfect performance. Morton, just, I don't know what it is. It was the exact same last season. January, just kick on, and it's all coming together. And I thought, listen, see, after the 2 goals were in, I was expecting more than that. I was thinking 6. I was thinking 7. I was thinking it could have been 4-0 at half time. Absolutely motoring. It's just everything's came together at the right time. I thought, you know, it's yourself looks a bit busy. You know, there's more to come. It's early days. Hatate, spoke about in the Blether this morning. Outstanding. What a player. Just absolutely. Oh, listen, everything that we thought that we, you know, early game against Rangers, when we came in and they were singing praises, and then like any player, he's a young guy, peaks and troughs, but it just seems like he's improving week upon week upon week. And if he's playing like that and we're ticking like that come next week, then I can't see any other outcome than a Celtic win. It's just important that we do it and we turn up and we do it for the off. And if we do, I think we could be sitting here talking about a 3-0 or similar.
Do you know what? Steve was already, you could tell by the end of that, for looking to the next game, which I get. It's good business, good management skills, mate. That's how a manager looks. Are we going to be guilty of not knowing what we had till it's gone under Ange Postecoglou? I genuinely think I've broke that divide already. I think I'm at times moaning too much about what we could do, what we can do, where I'm like, fucking, we don't close the break Martin O'Neill records, left, right, and centre. You got to talk about his team as the Holy Grail. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't add up. And yet, he's not against Alex McLeish. He's against the manager that took the rivals to Europa League final. He was against the team that only conceded, 9 league goals? Like, 9 league goals the whole season before. Like, that's what he was up against. Like, we really need to kind of maybe... I maybe do. I maybe talk from my own point of view. I think, Phil, I'm at times guilty of not lapping and soaking all this up a wee bit. You know, like going, these are the good times, man. Like, this is what it feels to be Celtic. Like, this is it's quite special what's going on right now when you actually look at the records. And like I was saying to Terry last night, 4 goal margins now are like, good 2-1 win today. We were solid. 4 goal margins though they are, and we're almost, I mean myself, taking it for granted a wee bit. We've got to sit in these good times and enjoy this.
Without a shadow of doubt, it's I think overall, you're asking, you know, will we live to regret it? And if we should go, I think there's a massive buy-in to Ange at the moment, and people are. thoroughly enjoying it. I know there's every so often a wee sort of, hopefully nobody's watching them, and what price will they go for? But I think ultimately, when you look at the harmony around the club, and the scary bit is, and I've said this a few times, Russell, the recent performances, I don't think we've even got a second gear many times. I mean, the game yesterday, 2-0 at half time. For first half, we were gung ho, but there was a period from half time till the third goal where we were just happy to hold on to the ball. See, last week against St Mirren, when it was 1-0 until the 75th minute, then that penalty incident happened and it just seemed to spark the game back in life. We were more than happy to just, hold on to the ball and make our opponent chase it. Because
I just farted loud as fuck, and I thought I was on. I didn't realise I was on mute. Like I thought it like.
Oh my god!
I can't believe I just done that on camera. It's the
Thank
first time I've
goodness you were on mute.
First time I've done that ever. And then I realised I was on mute, but because I'd busted out laughing, I was like, "Need to fess up here to what's just happened."
And now you're on mute anyway, so you've just told us. Well, thanks for that, Russell.
I had to, man. No, I had to tell the truth.
Mate, it's all right. It's all right. Listen, there's nothing wrong with a wee bit of shite.
It's a Sunday
It's a
session,
different bit coming out of mouse.
It's a safe space, mate. So you're all right. You're fine. You're fine. But no, it's the.
But you know what, Steve-O? Do you understand where you get lost in a moment and you think and I will go back to it and I stand by it. 2012 turned us all into accountants and we're all now business Celtic. I actually support Celtic, the business, not the team. I just love the PLC that I support. It's like, that's bullshit. You support the guys in green and white hoops. That team right now is a joke domestically. And I always caveat with domestically because I knew this day was coming. If you remember, Phil. Now, Phil McGinley, by the way, I just want to say a big 1 year yesterday. He made his debut on this show. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you right now, this bus would maybe be, rolling, maybe. But if it was not for the guy to the fucking knew I get it wrong.
I do it all the time, don't worry, I do that all the time.
This bus would be in the bin, basically. He has been unbelievable. So thank you, mate, for 12 months of noise and delusion. It is appreciated. Now, back to the team. Because, Phil, you know in that 12 months I've said, so I knew this would come. I was like, I know fine well, we will go out of Europe, but 4 months of domestic bliss, and we'll all go, the world beaters, eh? I'm like, well, based on what? Beating fucking St Mirren in another 3 times. Do you know what I mean? In fact, poor choice of team. But, you know what I mean? Like, Steve-O, we can't get over carried away because the real tests, I think, lie elsewhere. That's my own opinion.
100%.
That is my opinion. But the form we're on, the form we have found since Ange's been around has took us to the, as Edward would say, top of the table. Steve-O, good time to be a Celtic fan. Let's be real here. Like, we've slayed whatever it was, that threat they were, that one season wonder that they had. And it's now back to business here. And let's get down to business. TikTok for Sunday, big boy.
Mate, the boys are back in town and hopefully we'll slay a beast next Sunday. Or maybe it's get a monkey off her back. Not that they've been on her back, but they've been jumping on her back figuratively with all the mouthing and stuff in the media. And hopefully we'll just shake them off to the side, into the wet of the damp pitch, and we'll be walking away having defended our cup. No, listen, we're riding the crest of a wave. We've come into this second half of the season, a wee bit of a slow start, as you'd expect after an unusually positioned World Cup, but we started to motor, and that's us picking it up, and we've just got to keep on going. In terms of looking forward, potential Champions League, I'd expect us to win the league, but got to, till it's over, it's not over, so let's just keep it open, top terms. And I think the one thing I've said is that we have a great team right now and we've done it on a small budget, but as you say, is looking towards Europe. I've had a basic philosophy and outlook on I've had a basic outlook on the team for years, which is buy better quality at the front end with a view on doing slightly better. I'm not looking for amazing results overnight in Europe, but to do better in Europe,
You've got
theoretically,
19 years, mate, to do better than.
no, but what I'm saying is,
It's not
theoretically though, if you invest better at that front end with a view of those other tournaments, domestic side should take care of itself. Now, there's no guarantees. You can go and buy more expensive players, and it might not happen for them. But in principle, if you have better quality players on the pitch for our domestic league, that should take care of itself, but give you a better chance to make it better results and make more money, because that's what's going to keep this cycle rolling in the bigger tournaments. And that's what we should be looking at doing. And certainly talk about expansions of stands and everything, take that aside. I guarantee you, if we started investing that money in the squad, nobody would be thinking or bothering themselves about whether they'd more standing or not.
Aye.
Do you know what? You're right, but you've just done it again. Your mind's moving off the team. And listen, I'm not criticising you, Steve. Please don't think I'm saying it badly. I'm the world's worst for it. When are we going to get to a stage where we go, holy fuck, this team's all right, by the way. I know, I agree with the European thing, by the way, Steve. In fact, I'm worse than you on that. Right? I am I'm like the Grim Reaper. You know what I mean? Like, get beat off Real Madrid, and I think we should win. You know?
well, Russell, can I just quickly intervene on something then regarding that? Again,
I don't like this, but go for it.
Going back to this morning on the Sunday Blether, I obviously put that hypothetical situation out there. Obviously, I got Mark, Regan, and I got David's takes on it, and obviously the people in the comments. But what I'd said this morning was, if we'd done better in that Champions League campaign earlier this season, maybe finished second and scraped through, we would have obviously picked Red Bull Leipzig to second place. They're playing Man City this week in the Champions League. But the way it would work out for us, if we were in their position, we would have
You're being
Man
naughty
City.
now, Phil. You're being fucking naughty now. I listened to your Blether earlier.
Aye. So just to see, like, you know, again, just that, you know, you talk about the European progression, because for me, that is where we will know where we are as a club, because domestically, cup finals and that, they'll always be there. Every year, we'll always get a crack at these things, no problem. We're always going to be in contention to win the league. It's the next step, the next frontier is getting over that hurdle in Europe and being a consistent force. And, you know, you look at that this week that Leipzig are playing them, you're like, oh man, we could also have that as well. We could have both. To have a cup final and that in the same week. How good would that be?
I thought it was a fantastic question today. I thought it was a brilliant question, and I love the judge. That he was very clever what he did today, because he repositioned the question, turned it, flipped it on its head, and then it answered his own question, which wasn't quite what was asked to him. So what he was asked was, would you be more hyped if it was Man City in the latter stages of the Champions League this week than you would be the Viaplay Cup? Mark decided to turn it into what defeat would hurt you more. Which is not what he was asked. That's naughty. And Judge, I'm watching you, right? I'm joking. But I was watching the show this morning, and I asked myself the same question, Phil, right? And I'll be completely honest, I just went, Zadok the Priest made me cry once. And I mean, as an armchair fan, made me cry. Because I was watching, I was that hype, I just felt like insane. And I'm sorry, my appetite is for beating Man City at home. The optimism of beating them, not what defeat hurts more. No, it's for me, it's beating Man City or beating them a million times in my life. We've won, was it 16 of the last 22 titles? Like, come on, guys. We've seen that movie loads. By the way, I'm not sick of that movie. Get the popcorn out. I'll watch it next Sunday. That's sound. But Steve-O, Man City, that Zadok the Priest has played. You know what I mean? I've got about 14 hairs on my arm, right? But they're all on end, right? my beard's growing even slower, right? But you know that feeling you've got? I feel insane right now. And we hit 2 goals in the first 10 minutes against them. And you're hearing that Champions League music playing, and you're watching the Celtic end explode, Phil. You know, your dad's obviously left behind. Sorry, pal, but you're out because we've got the 10,000 standing now. No, that's a joke.
I know.
That's a joke. But you got to bring everything back, Steve. You've got to bring everything back to the original chat. But imagine that feeling of going 2-0 up against a Man City. That euphoria for me completely like defeats the thought of seeing Barisic on his arse again, Tavernier looking with a startled face that he's left his marker. Like, I'm all for it, don't get me wrong, but I think there's more compelling arguments to be had, and I think I want to see Celtic win the big fights, not just the easy ones.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I watched the Blether as well, and I know exactly what you're saying about what Mark said, and it's such a polarising point, and I'm really conflicted over it because, of course, I want to see us in better stages of Champions League and bigger tournaments, playing bigger teams.
Not won a knockout game in 19 years, Steve.
Exactly, and going back to times when we were turning over.
Sorry, Steve, I know I'm cutting in. I apologise. I'm coming straight back to you, pal.
No, I don't so.
But Nicola Stubborn, I've blocked about 14 versions of this person, right? But they seem to be okay these days. I don't know what's going on. Whatever your name is, right? They seem to be nice now. Well, debatable. Obviously they are a Rangers supporter. That's fine. Listen, you also watch Rangers do well in Europe, whilst capitulating against the likes of Bodo Glimt. Surely that must annoy the shit out of you. Steve-O, I'm going to put at the end of that.
Does it annoy the shit out of me? I think that when you look at where we are, and again, listen, it's all in the eye beholder. I think in the times that we've seen Rangers do better, from the Gerrard stage onward, I always believe we had a better infrastructure, a better squad, and absolutely, we should have been doing better. And do you know what? Folks say don't look across the fence, don't look over there, but you've got to. Because inevitably in Scotland, in our wee small pool, is going to be the stick that batters you around the head constantly, constant comparisons. Even if there is no comparison to be made, it'll happen all the time. Did it annoy me? No, because I wanted them to get beat. Of course I did. Every time I watched the game, I was hoping they get beat and they would get through. There was that initial thinking, oh fuck, here we go again. Now I hear the end of this. But at the end of the day, I wasn't necessarily annoyed at them doing well. I was annoyed at us not doing well.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does.
Because, and there is, maybe I'm contradicting myself a wee bit, saying I was looking and making, there's a comparison there, but I was more disappointed to know that we had better players, a better setup, and we should have been performing better. You could argue the toss that we also played better teams. So, there's always that. There's,
point, mate.
There's variables there. So it's not, it's again, it's like comparing
never straightforward, mate. It's never
straightforward. But come back to what I was saying earlier. I watched what Mark said, and I'm conflicted because if you say, would you rather be playing Leipzig or Man City? Well, Man City, let's say, in that stage of the Champions League, or playing the Viaplay Cup final. If you take playing the Via Cup final against Rangers out here, it's a different story. I know what one I'm picking. But there's always going to be something primal about turning over Rangers, no matter what it is. It's something you can't bottle.
But you can't say you're nonplussed by these games, Steve. Like, no one is suggesting that. It's what is going to, and you know this phrase, Phil, it's another one, another boom. What tickles your balls more? And Phil, I'm sorry, but Zadok the Priest and Celtic becoming Celtic Park, the real Celtic Park, not the birthday care pish that Steve-O was spot on to allude to, by the way. And you were right, by the way, mate. See that feeling when I look at them standing there?
Yep.
Oh, and you get that music? Nah, I want that. Give me that before beating them in a Viaplay Cup final. Nah. Swedish Broadcaster Cup finals means fuck all to me, mate.
It's all hypothetical. See, if you say to me, you play Man City at home, you turn them over 2 or 3-0, then I'll take that all day long. See, if you say you just play Man City and you'll probably get tanked, I don't know. I don't know.
It's difficult because it's about, though, what matters more before it. What matters more, Phil? If what one are you buzzing for? What one? And I think it's so easy with hindsight to go, well, the comfy blanket is the one that we've won more times than the one that we don't tend to win in. But I think the David Goliath thing just strikes a chord with me, pal. Like, I like Celtic being the underdog. I have beaten Rangers loads.
Yeah.
I've battered them mentally in my own wee tiny mind. I'm like, Perth's never fucking shite. It's a wee man syndrome thing eventually. But Europe, when you're against the best and you know it's the best, this is it. This is the yardstick you can ever be. See Alan Thompson doing the fly kick volleys and all that? Where's he pulling that for? Guys becoming extraordinary players for 90 minutes. We've seen guys in our lifetime, and this is our gift now, Green Brigade, right? We've seen guys becoming world beaters that were not world beaters, that weren't really, but because of the occasion, the sense of what I'm talking about right now as a fan, feeling, do you know what, we could do something today. We could do something today. And they felt it the same. Like the players were on this mad same tangent as the fans. That for me is the holy grail of being a Celtic fan. That is what I want. I want to see Barry Robson running off in disbelief and delight that he just scored a header off the bar against Barcelona. I want that in my life. I want Neil Lennon running the circuit because we've qualified, because against all odds, the last minute, James Forrest, the guy he backed to the tilt when no one else was like, what? He's shite, mate.
Fastest Neil Lennon's ever ran, doing that touchline that night off.
And he goes, he's in euphoria. I want Wanyama knocking that ball in against Barcelona. Do you know what I mean? Like, these moments mean the world to me. I remember when Henrik Larsson scored against Valencia, for example, 2003. He'd missed the penalty already. He scores an absolute belter. And I thought, fucking just as well you scored that, you bastard. Imagine having those expectancy levels now. Like when I'm like, you just put a goal past Rafa Benitez, Valencia, who've just like about to win the La Liga. Do you know what I mean? And it's because you're correcting your error by missing that penalty you'd have to. And I'm like, big time you, get the ball out. Then he balled that celebrating. Like, give me those days, mate. Give me those days. That's, I think, the fact of the matter is, you look fondly back at Martin O'Neill's time for the run to Seville when we won fuck all.
That's right, that's true.
When you think of his 5 years, you think instantly of the run to Seville. You don't think of the trebles. They're next. I'm not saying they're out of your thoughts, but they're secondary. The run to Seville is the one. No Rangers are involved in that, pal.
Do you think it's a generational thing, though, with certain fans, where you talked about a minute ago saying, we've not won a knockout game since, 19 years? It's a long time. We've had the benefit of seeing those days when Celtic were a powerhouse at home, especially the amount of scalps we took. And do you think just a lot of fans just gravitate to the Rangers one just because they haven't seen, they haven't experienced what we've experienced, and that's just a generational thing? Is it maybe that's part of the I don't want to say problem. It's not really a problem necessarily, but this apathy towards the European stuff, because there's that sort of I'm not gonna win anyway. As I said earlier on, see my leaning is I always want Celtic to play against the best and improve against best, because cup finals, against the League Cup finals, Scottish Cup finals will always be there. Games against Rangers, I mean, God's sake, on Bustalgia, I've talked about seasons we've played them 7 times in a season. It's way too much. It happens. Last season we lost a Scottish Cup semi-final to them. It was merely a blip. We bounced. We won the league just a few weeks after that. So it's like, I think this one, there's an importance on it with a lot of fans, because they've got a really noisy manager that's talking a lot, saying a lot of things, and we don't want him to have any success at all, because he's just really, really annoying. Let's just be honest, that he is very, very annoying. But last season, I say we lost to them in a cup semi-final, and after a few days, me personally, and I know that's not the same for everybody. I know there are other people who would have been quite. I was all right. We did a PMP right after it, and I said on it, I says it's merely a bump in the road. We're still going to go on and win the league this season. So, to me, when it comes to, I want to see Celtic challenge himself against the best, and that for me shows us where we are as a club. Cup finals, they'll always be there. We're going to win these things again and again. It's fine. If we don't win the League Cup this season, hey, we'll get another shot at the next season. It's fine. Honestly, I would rather, test ourselves against the real top of the tree in Europe. I love the buzz of the Champions League nights. Absolutely love it.
Does it get any bigger for me, Steve-O?
Nah, it's fucking. I hear everything that Phil's saying. These things come and go. You know, it's maybe just that, as I say, it's maybe that just that primal Celtic supporter thing where, regardless of the occasion, there's always a desire to outdo Rangers and want to beat them. But I fully agree. Listen, I've seen some tremendous games at Celtic Park, been at some amazing European nights. You know, sound the klaxon, the old Martin in the old days. But you know, we just got to build back and.
We've done it in a while, Martin O'Neill.
We haven't
done it in ages. There he is, Martin
O'Neill.
There
he
is.
is.
There you go.
But do you know what?
It's so long.
I think we're on the right trajectory. We've said this before, and I think that this season coming up is going to be the real acid test for us. There's no excuse.
I agree with you.
There's no excuse that we need to see something tangible. We need to see an actual improvement. The excuses are now non-existent. There's nothing to hide behind. And I think if we win the league, should win the league, the money, the projections and the riches that come with that we should be thinking about a really good summer for a team building perspective. And we should be looking at it. You know, we've talked about that money sitting there in the bank, and that's only going to grow. That's an interim point. That's only going to grow between now and the end of the season, and then we're looking at potential guaranteed money. We should be reaching into these deep pockets, and we should be trying to do something to build the team to allow us to progress. A wee bit of luck of the draw is obviously going to help you, but we've got to be prepared for any draw that comes out our way, and hopefully we'll see something. Getting through a group stage, last 16 would be fantastic, but for me, and as an initial, I think if we could do a good showing and a strong third, and then look to go into the Europa and maybe get through a round or two minimum, and there, that to me is good tangible progression. But I'll take any progression in Europe that comes our way next season.
I agree. We are going to leave it on that note. It's 21 minutes past 8 at night. Guys, we've had a belter of a Sunday sesh. Steve-O, Phil, I can't thank you enough. I really enjoyed the debate, and I thought it was real. And that's the best compliment I can pay. So to everyone who's watching right now, hit like, hit subscribe. And if you want to buy a Boys to Bus shirt, just get in touch. crookedarm@ymail.com. You can PayPal, or you could just email me. And I'll
and the poll that I put up midway through the show, because people were demanding it on, you know, should it be a standing section or not?
Oh, yes.
61% just now say make it a standing section, 39% say don't. And that's the best to think so. That's it.
I think I don't mind that. I think that just shows you it's completely free reign. And I like the fact there's loads of different views. Right, we're gonna go. It's all for the name of I don't make a mountain out of my head.
I mean, you've all that stuff at the start. You know, they won't be playing Tina Turner on the coach on the way home, will they?
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan. He's a Rangers puppet. He's a cheerleader. That's what he is.